Now, I promise to you, I'm not just being mean. Look, I understand how you see this thumbnail and you're gonna see this headline and you're gonna feel very offended. It's not to offend anyone personally, but that's just to be absolutely real and honest with you. Why am I even saying that? Well, stay with me for 2 minutes and I'll explain. Look, first of all, this is not aimed at my members. My members are absolutely aware and understand exactly what's going on and very well prepared for this. I'm not going to rant about the Discord, I'm going to talk about it later. Those who are interested, links are in the description below. But let's look at the charts for a second. The other day, when everybody started panicking for no valid reason, if you ask my humble opinion, right? And very rapidly, by the way, started panicking really, and the fear sipped in just tremendously fast. In fact, it just highlights how everybody's average cost price is so close to where they are right now that it affects their emotions on that very strong level very rapidly. But that's not the point. The point being that all these investors, again, no offense to anybody, it's just that the vast majority of people really lack that true sentiment of an investor. And I know true investors, trust me. The majority of public only thinks they're investors. They are not able to withstand the deeper waters for a single day, right? It's easy to imagine yourself in someone's shoes, but in this case, you gotta walk in them several kilometers, so or miles, if you will. So that's not gonna be as easy as you think. Oftentimes, people imagine that when tough, rough times will hit, they will be fine and will be able to withstand the storm. What most people are absolutely blind to is the technical aspects of things. Everyone's trying to look at geopolitics, at the financial events, earnings reports, and try to discern from that arbitrary on their gut feeling what the market will behave like based on what they think it's going to behave like. Instead, you can be smart. You can really look at the elements in the stock market, in the charts that can be then quantified and used to actually identify various patterns and behaviors, repetitive cyclicalities that are consistent, that are very indicative if you know how to identify them, where the price action is headed most of the time, again, with some level of, with some marginal error or standard deviation, if you will. But overall, it does allow you to predict well enough the market. And actually, again, I've been doing that on the daily basis. Those who claim it's impossible, it's because they are incapable of it. It's the same thing as someone who doesn't understand science will claim whatever science is magic. It is literally the ignorance that um, allows people, and people do find a lot of comfort when they don't understand what's going on. They really do find comfort in, sort of claiming that something is not true, not real, or whatever. It does give some level of comfort to people who lack the knowledge. They tell themselves there is nothing there to know, and thus they're not behind. In reality, they're significantly behind. They basically do not talk the common language of the market. They don't understand what the market is screaming and yelling at them, which brings me to my point. Why am I even, posting with something as a thumbnail like so? When the other day the market dropped and everyone panicked, I said, yes, it will correct, but with a caveat. Nothing has changed with the overall pattern. Nothing has changed with the overall cycle. It still stands exactly as it was. And so we are seeing the curving, or rather, at first, the flattening of the curve, and more so the curvature inwards, although very shallow still, but still moving to that downwards direction, boys and girls. Pay attention. The market doesn't care about your emotions or what you think the current geopolitical event is going to reflect like on the stock market. What Trump says. None of it matters. What Elon says, sorry, doesn't matter. Alex Karp, sorry, doesn't matter. It all has to do with the foundation of what the market really is and what are the forces that are driving the market. And these forces, guess what? They are literally yelling and screaming at you that there is a major, larger correction that is about to occur. And most people are blind to it because they remain emotional and hopeful, I guess. I think that is some form of FOMO of sorts, because they were late to the party, and now that they're finally have joined and they seeing the market not doing anything, they think, well, now it's a matter of time. I just have to wait out this boring part. No, that's not how it works. There's actually a cyclicality at play that, first of all, if you know it, you would understand that the market has been losing its momentum very drastically since the end of 2025, which within itself was extremely prolonged and unexpected, but can occur. If you know, understand the cyclicality, you're going to be able to measure the actual price action using these various forces, these various tools, right, that will allow you to identify whether the market is actually behaving the way it should be, or is there really something abnormal in that behavior, or abnormal within the realm of normality. Means, although it feels like abnormal, but really it is acceptable within the range and the scope of how the cycle is meant to play out. But then again, you need to know what the cycle is, what it looks like, what its major sort of support resistance points, how the momentum behaves around that cycle, what are the indications, the landmarks, if you will, of the cycle that allows us to identify where we are in the first place within the major cycle, right? To understand that, you need to be able to know these measurement tools. So yes, I will talk about the Discord later, still not yet. So my point is this: although in the shorter term we are seeing some of this arguably boring price action, again, that is literally what is visible once you zoom out, the very same flattening of the curve, the very same sort of curvature, and the very same behavior that transitioned from bullish to bearish momentum at the top of the wave, if you will, the impulse, which we are seeing similarly to how the grand scheme of things. Again, notice in a second you will see how the larger cycle looks exactly how this internal smaller cycle that is occurring the within the larger time frame. You have a smaller time frame, that so you can identify sort of smaller cycles, larger cycles, and all are true at the same time, by the way. Again, most people think the market at various time frames contradicts itself. No, it doesn't. It just tells you the very same story from different angles and different distances, if you will. But at the end of the day, it's the very same story. It says exactly the very same thing. Is that your inability or your lack of knowledge about it is what sort of permits the market to fool you, right? And it's the market doesn't do that by intention. It's just merely the sort of natural outcome of the ebb and flow and the forces that are within the market. And you see now that we've gone to a larger time frame, we can see it literally looks exactly like what we saw earlier with that flattening of the curve, right? Now instead of running very steep, now instead basically gone very shallow, and then to the point where it becomes flat, and then in fact has far more tendency to point downwards rather than upwards, right? Again, be attentive to these things. The market is basically yelling at you. In fact, if we're looking at momentum, for example, if we're looking at our weekly has been lingering around the 50 range, which is basically the 50 range on the stochastic RSI, is the transition from bullish to bearish territory. As you can imagine, yes, once we cross into bearish territory, we will see far more bearish behavior, right? So we're on the weekly, we're already seeing signs how we transition into it. On the monthly, the market has been yelling and telling you that it will drop for quite a while. Yes, it takes a while. You're lucky enough for the market to warn you again and again and again. It almost kind of reminds me of that moral story about the guy who, was stuck on his roof after a flood, and was a very religious guy. Again, no offense to anyone here, just kind of a moral story, right? And the guy had, some rescuers coming to help him, and he says, "No, I'm a believer in God. God will save me," right? And then, a big boat, some rescuers on a big boat actually come through, right? Not just regular people that were able to rescue him. Actual rescuers come through with a boat, tell him, "Here, come with us. We're gonna rescue you. Come with us. You're gonna be safe," and all that beautiful stuff, right? And he says, "No, I'm a believer in God. God will save me," right? And he stays there. And then a helicopter passes by. Again, some major rescuers, like the guys that can rescue out of any circumstances. And they're telling him, "Come with us. We're going to rescue. We're the final wave of rescuers. That's it. No one else can rescue you after us," right? And he says, "No, I'm a believer in God. God will save me," right? And eventually he drowns, goes to heaven, and asks God, "God, what happened? I'm such a great follower. I do everything you say. I should have been worthy of your saving." And he says, "What do you mean? I sent you this boat with people. Then I sent you some rescuers on this really big boat to rescue you. You didn't go with any of them. I even sent you a helicopter that can rescue out of any circumstances, and you didn't even go with them. So what can I do? What, you expected me to come down personally and help you? I've done everything I could for you, right? And the market basically is in that very situation. It's been screaming and yelling and telling you over and over and over and over again that it's about to crash, have a major correction. Again, my assessment, my own analysis leads me to believe that the drop will be all the way to 3,300 if we're looking at the SPX, of course, respectively, with each and every index and asset. As you can see, by the way, this is just kind of a lesson I've been doing with one of my students, and I've been highlighting how the entirety of the market, you're looking at Microsoft, Nasdaq, SPX, Nvidia, Russell, Palantir, Tesla here, I think, Microsoft, anything and everything you can imagine and think of, everything is here. And all of it is moving overall in tandem. If you pay close attention, you're going to realize the vastness of the market move together. Although, again, of course, there are some abnormalities to, to each their respective sort of cyclical behavior, because some of them are newer assets and do not highlight that cyclicality as well. For example, Palantir, given it's a new asset, but if you pay attention, for example, that rally, that hump correlates with the rest of the tech sector, right? So you can see the tech assets in general and the indices move together in tandem. So there's nothing sort of abnormal in its behavior when it comes to the assets falling just like the rest of the market. It's just that your inability or lack of knowledge to understand what are the forces that are driving that drop, that is, or lack of the lack of correlation and coordination between the assets and the indices, right? So that's why people miss out that the market is yelling and saying again and again and again, like this asset, that asset, this index, everything's going to crash. Why? Because it's all intertwined with one another. It's all moves in tandem. Of course, there are far deeper and more complex explanations that show and highlight, of course, the very same story. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the conviction I do, right? But these ways of analysis are, first of all, I teach them in my one-on-one academy, which I have just one spot that is still discounted. The original price of the academy is $10,000, boys and girls. Right now, that very same academy, that one-on-one academy, I give you spots for 4,000. That's all. That is a $10,000 academy. It is 60% discounted. Do not wait. The prices will be hiked. Okay. I'm later going to talk about Patreon if you just want to kind of join the community, get the feel, see how, see my posts every day. You get, by the way, in the Discord, you can read the testimonials of academy graduates already graduated from the academy and now participate in weekly meetings, which we had a wonderful meeting yesterday. They're all, of course, recorded and they go into our archive and then you can watch them. For our academy members, of course, we have our Patreons that do get daily updates and all sorts of activities. If it's various meetings, we have once a month a meeting for all the members that everyone can participate and ask me questions directly, personally, on the Discord with a sharing screen sort of circumstance that it's very convenient, very personal. You can talk to me directly, ask any questions you want. So, and of course, we go over technical analysis of various companies, the current market situation overall, where we are, what we're expecting. We'll go over the momentum and all of these and many, many more things that I don't even talk about because most people are simply not familiar with them, right? Nor understand how do they work. So join the community. That is literally the best thing you could do for yourself. It is also tremendously discounted. It only costs $50 a month right now, which gradually will be hiked every month until it reaches $99. Basically, at the end of this month, yes, at the end of this month, it's going to be hiked to $70. That $50 tier that you will see on Patreon will be hiked to $70. The month after that, at the end of the next month, it will be hiked to $99 at where it will stay. So join in right now so you can lock in that very good price and you're not going to have to sort of come back when the market goes bananas and you then panic just like it happened, what, several days ago? And the sad thing is that people the market has been telling you that it's going to drop again and again and again. I've been telling you the market is going to drop. I'm not even going to highlight people like Michael Burry nor Warren Buffett and other major technical analysts, and not just technical analysts, an assortment of various analysts who identified that the market is prepping for a significant correction. Instead of wondering and panicking within literal mere days and then weeks realizing, well, things are not going as you've expected, wouldn't you want to know and understand what are the true forces that are driving the market? Because it seems like the market was headed to do these things regardless of any geopolitical event or any economic event or any earnings report or anything. None of these things seem to matter. You can again ask in the community. I've been predicting the market on a daily basis, on a larger, smaller, medium scale, all along consistently, and most of the time I get things accurately. No, I'm not, godlike. I do have some misses, but on the grand scheme of things, even though I may expect one thing or another, on the grand scheme of things, of the cyclicality, support, resistance levels, momentum, I'm very damn accurate. Even though there are once a million years a tiny little miss. Human, after all. At the end of the day, you guys most are blind and willingly ignoring what experts in the industry, people who have at least a decade or two under their belt, telling you again and again and again, and you guys are ignoring it. So when it's going to happen, which appears to be very, very soon, you cannot blame anyone other than yourself. So before it happens, as you're going to watch this video, the market's just closed 5 minutes ago. Of course, we can watch the post-market price action, the post-market behavior, which we do kind of understand that the futures will point out to the very same sort of behavior. I did by accident delete my red line today, which you guys saw in the previous charts and days. It kind of, well, no, look at that. It looked kind of like so, I think. It was like that. It was red, right? Ish. So you can see we are kind of seeing what I expected to play out, playing out roughly as I said. Again, sadly I don't have I removed it by accident, but you can go to the previous videos and to the charts in the community, of course, compare and see how it looked like. But again, it was not meant to highlight precisely how the market will behave. It did meant to highlight potential support resistance levels that are very known to us. For example, that 6,972.60, which is very well known. For example, these set of support and resistance levels, this very narrow channel we have at 69.29 and 69.21.2. These two levels we can see right here, the blue and the Bordeaux colored one. Of course, we have the dashed line right here at 6904, which is well familiar. Also, of course, we have the psychological level that is 6,900 flat, right? So we have multiple of sort of multitude of forces and areas to which the price action can get entangled with before we drop, and some of these corrections are visible on some of the other time frames. For example, we can assess that out of this bottom, even if we have some corrective impulse right here on the 45 minutes, so we still may have some corrective movement, allowing us to move within the framework of this wedge, maybe at least one more time, for example, before we drop, then another time testing these levels, and only then continuing. So my overall image here that I drew, that is just general overall guidance. It's not meant to happen exactly in the period of time that I'm showing it. It may happen twice as rapidly. In fact, it may happen before the weekend actually occurs. We might start seeing with that drop. It doesn't have to occur exactly that precise shape, but the overall direction and the outcome is going to be that we're going to see again these very lows retested again, that 6,700 roughly, and that will be again that sort of process, a non-linear drop that will be kind of course, we do know the market tends to drop far faster than it goes up. Gain and drop, let's lose in buckets, right? So we are expecting to see a little bit more of an aggressive movement downwards. Again, panic does sip in a lot faster than confidence. Confidence is built up very slowly. If you understand what I'm sort of referring to, that psychological behavior. And as we said, we are seeing some bullish momentum right here. For example, if we're looking on the daily, as you can see, we are objectively right now bullish, right? If you look on our stochastic RSI, we're objectively bullish. We are above the 50. We have very clear dispersion of the forces. Basically, their divergence is very clear, and so we can assess that there is some bullish momentum there to be retested at least one more time, given what we're seeing on the daily and the 45 minutes out of these smaller time frames. In fact, on the weekly, we technically are still somewhat arguably bullish, although as we said, teetering on that 50 range, still somewhat bullish. So there you go, boys and girls. The reason why I'm so mad at the vastness of the public, again, not my community, is because most people are simply blind by intention. They choose to be blind to what the market is telling them again and again and again, and then giving them another chance and another chance and another chance and another chance. And at some point, when this happens, they'll have to capitulate or just take the brunt of the force, eat that tsunami, if you will. So, boys and girls, to finish off this video, again, links are in the description below. I highly recommend going to my channel, watching all the recent videos. I spoke about this again and again and again and again. That's the sad thing. People like myself spoke about this so many times. So yeah, you can go to my channel, validate, and see that I've been talking about this. If I've deserved your respect, thumbs up, like a like, dislike if you didn't like. I'm really not gonna get offended. If you did like it and you like this sort of content, please do subscribe so you can be brought to this channel again and again. And you'll see anytime I upload a video, you'll be up to speed. And of course, do join the Discord and the community, and you'll be up to speed a lot more than anyone else. In fact, before we finish off this video, let me brag for 2 seconds. Here it is. I'm gonna bring in my Discord. I hope you guys can see it this time. So it kind of, when you join in, you're gonna be in limbo. Here in left click me, you have all sorts of instructions to show you how you connect your Discord to your Patreon, right? Patreon, which, damn it, I need to change. I really need to change that. That needs to be corrected. It's not Investor anymore. It's Gregory, as you guys can see. As you guys can see right here on the left side, right above me, right there. There's the address, patreon.com/Greg underscore Ori underscore H, right? Or you don't have to use the underscores if you go to Google. If you just Google it, by the way, you'll see this very unique headline, right? This very unique title that no one has. So then you'll be led to this Patreon page. Here, I'm going to move myself so you guys can see better all the stuff that's going on here. So then you will be met with this page, right? And this is the tier I was talking about. This $50 tier is currently discounted. At the end of this month, this tier will be $70 and will no longer be $50 no matter what you do. And the end of the next month is going to be $99. So definitely sign up right now instead of being caught with your pants down within literally a couple of sessions from now or maybe next week. And even if not, God forbid, the timing is not perfect. We don't try to time the market as much as we try to identify the major checkpoints, support and resistance levels that the market will go to in the shorter, medium, and longer periods, which of course affect our outlook on where we are on a grand cycle. And that allows us to anticipate major movements in various directions and then prepare. Weird, right? Again, of course, none of this is financial advice. You're all independent adults and should know how to independently run your portfolio, not ruin your portfolio. So before you do ruin your portfolio, while it still is doing very well, just because you got extremely lucky, literally lucky, like once in a generation kind of lucky, and got to the highs that you have, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just here to give you a call to join a community that will allow you to see for your own self what is really happening in the market, what is the direction of the movement, and then make the correct choices. I'm sure you're a responsible, smart adult, and when presented with the correct information, you'll be able to make the right choices. You can't make the right choices if you don't know the information. It just makes sense. It goes hand in hand. We all understand this, I would hope. Now, so Discord. This is the wonderful Discord. Of course, all the instructions which I do need to edit. It seems I need to change some things and correct some things, right? So, pardon me for that. That is the Discord. All sorts of instructions and links, which I will correct. Then, if you need help or you want to apply for the academy and you're still in limbo on the outside, on the periphery, if you will, because if you're just going to be sort of join without having a member role through Patreon or the academy, right? You'll just be stuck in limbo here and will not be able to see the actual content of the server. If you are a member already, you'll be met with this page, of course, the rules and everything else, the support channel that allows you to apply for the academy, support ticket if you need to, announcements where I talk about my weekly meetings, the schedules, anything and everything. Of course, the schedule, we have a separate channel, YouTube alerts, members exclusive, members meetings, academy meetings. So yeah, there's plenty to enjoy in the community. Of course, the academy partition. Once you do graduate the academy, and you will be in the know, will be able to speak the common language that my academy graduates understand. Casual chat where we get to hang out on a daily basis, right? And sometimes I post some little charts, some hints. We joke about all the time and talk about anything and everything. Of course, mainly the market. Then you got my Greg's charts where I post on a daily basis updates, and I post what it is that I'm seeing, what it is that I'm thinking the price action will do, and of course It's absolutely clear, and you have the whole archive here, right? Also, again, as I said, that was the archive that I mentioned earlier. So you get a whole bunch of wonderful things. And in fact, again, you have the post board where we, from tabloids to symposium about various psychological, philosophical topics, finance, geopolitics. So you can post anything and everything, and even music you like. And of course, how can we forget the holy memes? The channel of the holy memes, of course. We have a channel for the memes, of course. So yeah, definitely that's a good run through the Discord. And those who stayed all this long, I salute you, love you all. Thank you for watching. Like, dislike, whatever you feel like doing. Don't forget to subscribe. Links are in the description below. Right there. Well, now actually it's right there on this side of things. Right there on the left side, or now it's going to be right there, right above me. You have the link to the Patreon. Here it is, right in front of my face. You can see it. That's where it is. Join the Patreon. Don't miss out because these prices will not return ever. So, yeah. And the Academy as well. The Academy is 60% discounted. Jesus, people, what are you waiting for? Anyway, you all have a wonderful rest of the week. I'll see you, all the members, in the meetings in the upcoming days, in the upcoming sessions. Love you all. See you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye bye.